Sad, I can't see it.
Just pulled up to the house. Don't feel like getting out. I'ma just lay back and cry this window. I've been doing my best, taking a moment to rest, feeling stressed out. Give it a cut. I put that on God when it gets hard. Stay on my job like no days off. Mom and dad's only daughter, do I make you proud? Writing my life in lyrics to your lies sound. Seeking approval constantly. When it's my truth, when I speak it, don't make sense now. Give it a cut, put that on good when it gets hard. Stay on my job like no days off. I'ma make a better way. I've been working all day. Can catch a break? Give a pretty brown girl her space. You can keep your bitter. I'ma make a better way. Hey, already got the world on me. Give a pretty brown girl her space. You can keep your bitter. I'ma make a better way. Hey, catch a break. Better way. Your friends chillin', day and night for days on end. Now you can't come see me tonight. Say you ain't got the time. I'm the last one you prioritize. Peeping your IG pictures on my phone. I won't spend another night at home. Okay, I'ma just be on my way. You'll see I'm not the one you take for granted, babe. I know that life can be busy, love. You make time for the ones you love. It's only right, it's what I deserve. Love, tell me what you've done. put your all into all that you do. It's only right, it's what I deserve. Love, tell me what you done for me, done for me, done for me, done for me lately. Did your mind go on vacation, leaving your affection for me at home? Tell me what you done for me, done for me, done for me, done for me lately. Where's your heart and your attention? Where's the kind of love that I used to know?
Man. Ooh, this is one is bad one, huh? All right. We are live, just running into a little bit of technical difficulty. Let me get Mika back up here. Give me 1 second. Okay. Give me 1 second. Let me make sure I get Mika back up here. So. Okay. And let me get the names right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was I just want to apologize. We had a little bit of technical difficulty. That's why we're running behind. Let me just make sure I get our names right. Okay. All right. Almost home. Okay. All right. We'd like to welcome you to another edition of AK On Fire. I'm your host and moderator for tonight's discussion. We're going to do a brief sound check. Make sure that sound is good. Can I get a one in the chat if the sound is good?
Microphone check.
All right.
2 1 2.
Let me see. All right. I'm going to go ahead and start since we're already behind. I'm not going to be too focused on the intro tonight. I want to begin with the topic of submission. Ma'at, the last time you and the other ladies were on the show. Last time you and the other ladies were on the show. We played a video from our brother Ray saying that he didn't believe that women should have the right to vote, and he had some choice words, and he talked about women knowing their role and knowing their place. And we got into a brief discussion about definition. About submit, the word submit, and you kind of took exception to that. You said you don't submit. What you do is you collaborate. And so I want to begin the show off with this disagreement with the word submit, because I don't feel like you're the only sister who has a problem with the word submit. So I want to go ahead and start with you on this issue of submission. First, please tell me what does submission mean to you?
Well, just when you look at the etymology of submission, basically it means to yield to a higher power, right? Higher authority. Mm. And so if you subscribe to like a hierarchical position in your relationship, then you I guess you will say that is a part of your dynamic in your relationship. Now, I don't believe that you come into the world submissive. I think that submission is something that you have to get someone to do. It's, you know, either by force, either by taking away something, that's how you get your children to quote unquote submit, right? Like a child, currently have a toddler and he is not submissive at all, right? Like, in order to get him to quote unquote submit, you have to do something in order, whether that is like some type of punishment. Most of us grew up with that being a part of, whether it's spanking, whoopings, all those types of things. So when I hear, submission, I don't believe that is a not a quote unquote natural thing. I think most women who talk about being submissive are not actually being submissive. They talk a good game, but I don't think they actually, from the core of who they are actually practicing submissiveness. Now, that is if you go to the etymology of it, that's what it is. It's just yielding to a higher power or a higher authority. And if you believe that men are higher power, higher authority, then, I do believe that there are some women who believe that and do actually submit. Now, on the other hand, when it comes to the word submit, I know we have to navigate the English language, right? So, I am a word person. I do believe in the frequency of words. So I do not use the word submit. Submit, I've been married for 15 years. Submission has not been a point in our marriage at all. Even when we were Christians, it was just never something that came up. I think men who are constantly throwing the word submission around, it comes from a much deeper place because you have to try to get women to submit. And I think on the other hand, when women are throwing that around, it's a place of wanting to be dominated. And we have to always look at where those things and those ideals come from. So when it comes to the word submission, it's just not I have these conversations online, but it's just never been a point in my relationship where submission was a thing. Now, there are people who will look at our relationship and say, oh, well, you were being submissive by doing this. It's a mutual, it's a reciprocal exchange.
Okay. I want you to hold that thought. So reciprocal exchange, I want you to hold that thought.
Okay.
Is before I go into the definition of submit, is there anyone who shares Ma'at's view on submission? And I want you guys, this is a free exchange. I want you to interact with each other in addition to interacting with me. I do want to go into the definition of submit, but I want to make sure, see where everybody's at with the when it comes to the definition of submit. No?
I am not on the same page.
Okay. So here is the definition of submit. I don't know, is that too small? Can you see that, or is that too small?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll read it anyway. So the definition of submit, Ma'at is correct in one instance where she says it's to accept or yield to a superior force or to authority or to the will of another person. And I think a lot of times sisters are getting caught up with this superior force. Now, at least to my mind, when you're talking about accepting or yielding to a superior force, that is in battle, right? When there's a war, when there's a fight, when you're talking about accepting or yielding to authority, that is obeying the laws of the land, like or the laws of your company, or when it comes to the will of another person, you're submitting to your husband, you're submitting to your wife, and let's be frank, men do submit to their wives just in different ways, right? So submission is not a one-way street; it's both ways. So going back, I mean, I want to bring you all. Bring you back in, and I want, before we dive further into this, I want you to share your opinion on this word submit that seems to have such a triggering effect. Please, anyone jump in.
Well, Yeah, I guess I neglected to say I did agree with the definition that she gave because it's there. There's no question in that. I just don't share the opposition to the submission because I don't think most men are looking for submission like just one way. I do believe that most of the time I hear a person makes the case for the woman submitting, they are also saying that they accept that they have to submit to the role of a man and the duties and the responsibilities of a man. So, that's just me. I'm just saying I don't get the opposition because it's always reciprocal. I seen someone in the chat commented in the animal kingdom, submission has always been a thing. And I think in the animal kingdom, that too is reciprocal. It's not just one way. You submit to the higher authority to come under the protection of that authority.
Right.
Well, see, and that goes back to, because we use the animal kingdom a lot to talk about us as human beings, and we like to use the animal kingdom from some instances, and then we don't like to use the animal kingdom from other instances. So when people bring that up when it comes to regards to how we are with each other, it's one of those things. It's like a throwaway thing that you're saying just to kind of prove a point. But then when someone brings up another issue, it's like, oh, well, we're not animals. So the thing is, but hold on, let me finish my point real quick. And so the thing is, when you say that an animal is submitting in order to receive protection, again, that is what I'm talking about. It's like you're using it. People use submission as an act of do what I want you to do. And I'm not saying in your case, I'm just saying with conversations that I hear, it's like, do what I'm telling you to do, fall in line, or I'm going to take something away from you, right? I'm going to take. So I understand even that, for example, if I'm out with our children and I want them to behave in a certain way, right? I might say, hey, if you don't do this, I'm going to take away a certain privilege, right? Now that is acceptable in a sense, right? Because they are children, you guide them, you need to do certain things. But when you're in a relationship and you say, I'm going to take away your protection, if you don't fall in line, that can be an issue. And that's why I go back. So submission, I mean, you can use the word submission, right? It's just not a part of my vocabulary. It's not a part of my marriage. It's never been. So a lot of times I don't even like having these conversations about the word submission because I just don't see it. I just don't see it the same way, right? But it's just a word. It's a word you can use. It's like using a synonym for other things, right? We're not even talking about whether someone submits or not. We're talking about whether people have the characteristics in order to have a lasting relationship. That's what we're talking about. So you can say it's submission, but do you have the characteristics to be a wife? Do you have the characteristics to be a husband? That is really what we need to be talking about, and stop overusing and overanalyzing the word submit. That's my opinion.
Okay, so would it make you more comfortable if a person replaced the word submit with the word yield?
It's the same. Yeah. Well, good question.
Would it make you more comfortable if because I could simply replace it with the word yield, and would that make you more comfortable?
Well, and again, I'm saying it's not about what do you mean? So in what context? Yield to what?
So you said about taking away things, right? Mm-hmm. Most men understand that if I enter into this relationship, I procreate with this woman, that I have to operate within a certain manner. I mean, like I have to operate a certain way in order to maintain this thing. If I do not, then there's always the threat of me losing that thing.
Okay.
Accept that, right?
Again, to me, that's just the characteristics, right? And so when you're in a relationship, you also learn that person. You learn how to love that person. That person learns how to love you. You have mutual respect. And again, if you do want to use the word submit, right, or submission, you can say both parties submit to one another or yield to one another, or whatever word, whatever synonym you want to use, you could use. But at the end of the day, it's what are those characteristics? What are the characteristics that you're going to teach? How are you choosing the person that you are with in order for you both to have a lasting relationship? That's the most important thing.
I agree. Hold on, Aaron, I'm going to bring you in. Aaron. I agree with that, but I think, Aaron, isn't the issue that we are making we're making a mountain out of a molehill, and if you can't even agree when it comes to submit something that small, that tells me that you are hyper cognizant, you are hyper conscious about feeling as though you're less than a man, which makes sense why you would have so many women who are constantly belligerent or confrontational in relationships because they have to feel that they're not less than a man. I mean, Aaron, get in there, tell me what you think.
I'm someone, I joined the Army when I was 17 years old, and I had to submit to my drill sergeants. I've run a business, and my employees had to submit to me. And what people have to understand is there's a lot of power in being submissive, right? So the fact when I was running my business and I had a manager who was a woman who had a more submissive personality, I didn't have to worry about her questioning me on every decision. And what it sounds like to me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, in your marriage, it sounds like there's a lot of, okay, if a man wants to do this, he has to run it by you first. What are the things that your husband can say or do where you won't question him at all? And that, I feel like submission and trust kind of goes in the same thing. Like, I feel like as a woman, there's some things that you should just trust in your husband to do. Like, for example, I would like my son to be raised this way, right? And if I feel like that's going to be a debate or I got to sit here and sell you on that, then I have to ask you, do you even trust me? Because let me tell you something, right? Even when I was in the military, you know how many people would die in battle? You know how many battles we would lose if every time I say, let's go clear this room, let's go do this. Well, hold on. Before I submit to your order, explain to me why we got to run in this room, and we will all be dead by then. So where does the trust come in, and where does the, okay, let's meet each other halfway on this? Like, where does that stop and begin at? Because that's why, submission is so important in a relationship, because it's about gender roles at the end of the day. There's some things where, like, for example, when it comes to raising my daughters, I'm going to submit to the woman a lot more because that's just something she's going to naturally understand that I won't. Same thing when it comes to protecting a woman. If I don't want you to walk on the side of the street, I don't want to sit here and have a conversation about that. I want you to get on the other side. Let me walk over here. If I got to feel like I got to explain everything, is there really trust in a relationship? And maybe you can answer that for me.
Yeah. So again, like it's the use of the word, right? So last show I talked about collaboration. And so we complement one another. So we do have our own parts that we kind of play, right? Like he's going to, like you said, he's going to trust me with our daughters more. If I say, I'm not sitting there and being like, okay, this issue is coming up with our daughter, so I got to explain everything. Now, there might be a time where he asks, like, what was that about, right? Because there are times like my daughter who, I have daughters who are in their preteen stage, right? So who will come to me and ask me, pull me aside and want to talk to me about something. And so the thing is, he's not going to be like, wait, hold up. What y'all talking about, right? And the same thing does happen where things with our son as well, where he takes the lead on that. And I might not even always agree with it. And we do have conversations afterwards. because it's very important that we are what is it called? Where you are a partnership in front of your children, right? So you don't want them being able to come in between the two of you. So there are some things. So we do trust. And that's very important. I know we're not in that part where we're going to talk about how we pick our mates yet, but that's a very important part on how you pick your mate, because the person that you pick is the person who's going to be raising your sons or raising your daughters and raising their mindset. So again, we're kind of like, to me, it's just an overanalyzation of the word submission. It's almost like you're saying, hey, I want you to submit to the word submit. Like, it's not even about that. It's just a complementary thing. Like, we are in a relationship. It works. My husband has never, ever, I do think, I'm from the South, right? I'm from Louisiana. So I do things that my sister-in-law from New York does not do. I fix my husband's plate, right? That's just something that I saw growing up. That's something that I do. I do it out of love and respect for my husband. I don't look at it as an act of submission or that it's lower than me. I just I fix my children's plate too, right? So for me, it's just an act of love or whatever, but my husband has never had to say, woman, go in there and fix me a plate. I have never had to say to my husband, hey, my car needs something done with my car. He's already on it. We don't have those type of dynamics in our relationship, right? There are things we just trust each other to know and do. I'm not dealing with the car, right? That's his thing. Right. You know? And so there are certain things that I'm not going to stop and question him on. I'm not going to say, are you sure it's time for an oil change? You know, if he says it's time for an oil change, it's time for an oil change.
I want to bring Mika in because you said something that was interesting. You said, the husband doesn't have to come in and tell you, hey, yell and scream, hey, go fix my plate. I think that was a perfect example of why there's such resistance against the word. Mika, I'm coming to you. And so do you think, you know what, let me play this video. Let me play a video real quick and we'll go and talk about it. Give me 1 second. Okay.
Many people accuse you of wanting to see the black woman at a point of submission. Is that where you want to see a black woman in the 1990s?
Well, it depends on how you define submission. Those words have a tendency to have a negative connotation for us because of how they were used against us during slavery, and we connect them true too. But actually, the kind of submission that I'm referring to just means cooperation and agreement. I don't think that anybody could say that I represent a woman who is subjugated in any kind of way. I don't think that anybody could say that my personality sounds like some man has me somewhere crawling around on the ground or walking 10 paces behind him. So I'm not representing that. I'm representing strength. I'm saying that we have a lot of power. We have power to make heaven and hell for our men. And I'm saying, let's try making heaven. Let's try to build him up. If a man has his woman behind him, he will believe he can do anything. And all we need to do is to get our men to believe that they can do anything.
All right. So
I love that you played that, Abe.
Huh?
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like, I love that woman. Because if black women would begin to resonate with Shahrazad Ali, like, it would be a whole different world for us. Like, it literally would be a whole different world for us. And I say this, like, I have to say to women, right? You ain't got no problem bending over and submitting for the act of sex. He could tell you crawl. He could tell you how you gonna take it. He could flip you. He could dip you. He could do whatever he want when it comes to sex. But anywhere outside the bedroom, we got to have so much input, though. Like, we got to have so much input, though. Like, I just don't understand it, because one thing I was taught from a child, right? Somebody got to be the chief and somebody got to be the Indian. Meaning, not everybody can be the freaking boss. And once black women can understand that there can only be one CEO of the family, then this word submit don't mean nothing. Like, Black women submit all day, every day to bosses that you got to yield in traffic. You got to literally, you are literally submitting 1,000 times in a day to any random anything. But when it comes to somebody telling you to submit to a Black man, then it's like, I don't understand this word. And then it's all over analyzing it. And it is all like literally yielding to a higher authority. Do I want my man to be a higher authority? Yes. Because if I didn't want to be with a man, then I would be with a woman. And if I'm deciding to be with a man, then I'm deciding to yield to his authority, because that is the function biologically of anything. The biggest woman could never beat the biggest man. It's like we just be like, oh no. It's like we just so fight. Like, but it kills me because at the same time as we fighting to not submit, we're fighting to be taken care of. Which one, boo? You can't be taken care of and be in control. It don't make no sense. And until we can actually come to a reckoning to understand, like, look, for that man to take care of me, I gotta express a need. For that man to take care of me, I have to have a softness that says I'm open to input, right? Mm-hmm. For that man to take care of me. But again, if your dynamic works, that's fine. If everybody is yielding to everybody, I've never seen it work in real life. I've never seen employees yielding to bosses and bosses yielding to employees. As a business owner, as a supervisor, I've never seen me yielding consistently to my employees to work to my benefit, right? Other races don't have this problem.
Yeah.
Other races don't have women saying, what? Submission? Oh my God, what is that?
I'm trying to find out where this this opposition and disdain for the word submission, where it came from.
Color Purple.
Well,
Color
it's funny.
Purple. They done watched too many fictional ideations of persecution against Black women on too many occasions.
So wait a
they
minute.
Really believe it's true.
Mika, so what you're saying is when they hear the word submit, we all end up looking like Mr. I mean, they see us as Mr.
Exactly. Slavery.
Okay. Love me smart.
Listen, I heard something though in what my aunt was saying though, because I always was confused by her issue with the word submit, because what I saw in her didn't jive with her having an issue with the word. And I didn't think that she was the type of person who would have a problem with the act of submission. I see that she doesn't have a problem with the act of submission, but she doesn't want it to be called or labeled submission. She actually seems like a pretty agreeable person based on the way she described her relationship. And her husband seems like a pretty agreeable person as well, based on her brief description. So,
I'll be honest here. I'm getting real uncomfortable with the analyzing of my marriage at this point. And I know I use that as a point of reference because I have been married for 15 years. And again, I'm just gonna say that even like my husband, he comes from he was a PK, right? He was a preacher's kid. And the thing is, coming into we got married young, 22. It's just never been a point of conversation or relationship. So the most I have talked about submission has been in this last year of being on YouTube. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times when I hear this conversation, there's no nuance to it, right? There's just this, it's like black or white. Like it's like submit, if you submit or not submit. And I do believe, if anyone knows anything about my channel, knows about my Odd Speaks, knows that I do take words very seriously. I take the way, and like I said, I understand we have to navigate the English language, but it's not our first language. Elder said it's hard to tell the truth in English. And so the thing is that I do navigate words and how they're used very seriously when I talk about certain things. And so it's a lot of dynamics within that, right? It's a lot of nuance within that. It's kind of it's a lot.
So my aunt,
what do you mean by that?
Hold on, let me ask my aunt this question. So my aunt, then is it safe to say that a lot of the opposition to the word has been how I'm not even gonna say some, but how many have used it on YouTube and throughout social media, where it's almost like the word is being weaponized? Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I don't believe in the domination of any person, right? So even when I look at feminism, right? To me, feminism is just women trying to be, it's just women being men, right? Like it's masculine energy. Mm-hmm. And so the thing about it is that is an effort to dominate something that you feel dominated you. And so a lot of these dynamics, when I hear people talk about relationships, it's about I'm trying to dominate the other person. And why do you feel that you need to dominate? Black man, why do you feel like you need to dominate the black woman? Black woman, why do you feel like you need to dominate the black man? Why are we not just saying, hey, we're complementary to one another? Does that mean I stop and I check my husband every move and what he does and he does the same for me? No, that's not what it means. But it does mean that we collaborate on a lot of things. Mm-hmm. And it does mean that we grow together. That's basically it. You're just growing together. In the beginning, you have the characteristics. You find out. To me, it's not submission. Submission is not it's the issue in our relationship. We are picking the wrong people. That is the issue. That's where we need to talk about. That's what we need.
And we will.
It's just a word.
Well, but it's funny though, because you keep saying how you are very careful to how you navigate around language and all of these things, right? But then you are tying in domination with the word submission. And if you were into the
right? I didn't say that.
I'm
saying that people.
You're not letting me finish.
I never said
let me finish a moment ago, and you're not letting me finish again.
Okay, go ahead.
But you put them together just now several times. Like you said, why do we feel we're talking about submission? And you said, why does the black man feel like he need to dominate the black woman? Why the black woman feel like
y'all are talking about submission? I'm not talking about submission. Okay, so that's the thing. I was saying that is just a word. I'm talking about characteristics, and I'm talking about that most people, when they are talking about submission, and this is most of the time coming from like the from the man, because we got to even understand how far back this goes. We're talking about being in a society that neither one of us have dominated. None of us have dominated. As Black people, we have not dominated the society. We do not dominate the society, right? So in an effort to dominate something, and that's why I said nuance is important in this conversation, being able to navigate on different levels of the conversation is important, because we're talking about the way that we seek to dominate. We do it with our children. They are things that we can dominate. What does a bully do?
I got two questions for you.
Go ahead.
I would like to know, do you feel like right now you are dominating this conversation? 1. 2, I would like to know if you feel like the word submission is being carried on in this live stream so long only because you're opposing the word. Because I believe we would have been off the word if you wouldn't have such an opposition to something that something that we all naturally do all day, every day.
Okay, that's your
Gone away.
That's your point of view. I am very I already told you, to me it's about the characteristics. So I am all for of never discussing the word submission ever again in life.
Exactly. You dominating the conversation. So I asked you 2 questions. Do you feel like you're dominating this conversation? And do you feel like the conversation about the word submission would have died out long ago if you weren't in such great opposition to the word?
What does the word submission have to do with me?
2 questions.
I mean,
yes
you
or no?
click on YouTube. You click
I
on
just asked you 2
YouTube.
questions, though, Ma.
Hold on. Because you're not giving me a chance to actually answer the questions. So the submission, what does the word submission have to do with me when multiple people, multiple platforms talk about submission?
On this platform,
I don't go to platform talking about submission. It's not a conversation that I have, you know.
Right.
And as far as me dominating the conversation, when people start talking about something that they're not in, and I'm talking about my relationship and my marriage, that is when I am going to say something. And I just said that I am uncomfortable. Now, I believe your name is Aaron. He asked me a very specific question, and I was happy to address the very specific question. But when you start generalizing my marriage, that is when I have an issue. And that, because we are not supposed to be attacking one another on this platform. We are just supposed to be having a conversation. So
okay, Wordsmith. Okay, Wordsmith.
Okay,
you said Aaron asked you a very specific question. Couldn't you make a case that every question is specific? 1, 2. I didn't generalize your question. What I tried to do is use the examples that you put before us to make a point that you never allowed me to make.
Okay. I'm going to, because
but you never allowed me to make it, so we'll never know that.
Right. We have a lot to cover. I will say this, that I think the idea of relational submission was one that has always been one that women submit to their husbands, but husbands, they submit to their husband's leadership for his vision for the family, for protection, for provision. And men also submit to their wives by embracing the role of protector and provider, and by valuing and honoring his wife and being committed to his wife. I mean, we hear men embrace the notion of submission all the time. When you say happy wife, happy life, that is a submission that, hey, man, if I make my wife happy, even if I'm not the happiest, my family will be intact, and it'll be what's good for my family writ large. So I want to move on from at least this point of addressing submission. But I do want to say, because I'm bringing up a conversation that we had with Hanifa on the issue of submission, and both you and Hanifa and a few other sisters were talking about how Black men need to protect Black women. You recall those discussions, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And I'm presuming that you still believe that Black men should protect Black women. So I'll say this. How does one protect someone who won't submit to their protection?
How does one okay, so can you rephrase that question?
Right. Okay. So say when you look at the country, you look at the United States. United States has a bunch of laws. In order to protect its citizens, those citizens have to submit to the authority of the United States. Whatever jurisdiction they live in, they have to submit to those laws. It's not collaborating with the laws. It's submitting to those laws. You have to adhere to those laws. You have to yield to authority. So in this case, how is it that a man can protect a woman who won't submit to his protection?
Okay, so I believe that again, what we're talking about is a reciprocal exchange. That's what it goes back to. So if I respect you, so not if, right? So I respect my husband, I value my husband. And so because of that, he does, I don't even think about it, right? Like, I know that my husband will protect me. I know that if I'm on the side of the road and something goes down with my car, I know my husband is going to come get me. Like, those are things that I just automatically understand. I don't think about it. And I do believe that women they need to also understand that level of importance of also that mutual protection. So don't put yourself in certain situations where you expect a man to come and protect you and you have created that issue. So the thing is to me, again, it's just about that mutual love, respect, trust in that person. So that comes with, if I love you, if I value you, if I respect you, if I trust you, there are certain things that I'm going to do for you, right? I'm not going to go around, like, honestly, just doing every and anything for any man, any child. It's a level of importance that you place on the people who are in your household. And so that comes with that. I honestly believe, like, even when it comes to our children, right, there's a certain level of, they understand that we're here and that we're going to protect them from certain things. They understand that it's an automatic thing, right? So I believe, to me, it's not about, and I understand, because there's a certain sect. I know that, and you said this to me, Abe. You said that you are not the majority. So I get it. I get that I'm not the majority. I get that even when it comes to the longer you are in a marriage, it's kind of like, that's weird. Like, when people hear 15 years, they're like, wow, you've been married for 15 years. So I understand all of those dynamics, and I understand that these women do exist. There are women that exist that want to dominate the relationship, dominate the marriage, they want, and that comes from a level of not valuing Black men. They don't value Black men because they do not see Black men as, and I'm going to use kind of the language that a lot of people use in these spaces, they do not see Black men as the prize, right? Because Black men have been seen in a certain light for so long. And we can credit that to programming. We can credit it to a lot of things. We can credit to the fact that we see certain things that happen to Black men at the hands of white men. We can see so many dynamics within that, right? So a lot of times Black women they have placed less value on Black men. So therefore they do not want to, quote unquote, yield, submit, whatever you want to call it, to Black men. So then Black men are saying, well, why would I protect something that doesn't even value me? What we're talking about is really a lack of value in one another. That's what it is. I protect something I value. It's like a car, right? If it's, the more expensive it is, the more you take care of it.
Yeah. Get in there, Aaron. I see you itching to say something.
Let me jump in there. I feel like it goes even deeper than how Black men have been treated, over history, because you can even go back to the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, and Black women were respecting, Black men. I feel like a lot of it has to do with this new woke culture, this new age society where a lot of men don't know where they stand at. And being a man and being around lots of men, a lot of men are becoming more feminine, right? They're becoming more feminine, and they're not men that women should follow and submit to. For example, me, right? I grew up in a fatherless home, right? So, for example, one thing that a lot of men don't learn how to do when they're growing up in a fatherless home is control their emotions. And there's been times when I've been in relationships where the woman did want to submit to me, right? But the way I spoke to her wasn't with respect. And I feel as though that the women are becoming more masculine and the men are becoming more feminine. And then we're getting into this weird middle ground where people don't know where to stand at. That's why you got these terms like alpha female coming up. That's where you got these, guys like Russell Wilson being called a simp because of, his relationship with Sierra. She looks like she, takes more of a leadership role in a relationship because she could just go out and just wear, whatever she wants. So I feel like one of the solutions to get more Black women to submit to Black men, because I'm going to take the accountability, is for men to start being men. For example, not relying on their woman for things that they should be relying on themselves for, as far as, finances, as far as, their emotions. There's a lot of men that rely on their woman for how they feel instead of being, having that stoic mindset where as though they're not never too high and they're never too low. You got men out here dressing like women. You have some men out here dressing as women. So I feel like when women are seeing that, okay, our men are becoming more feminized. Let us, start to, rise up and stand up where a lot of these men are lacking. Because I've also been to other countries where the men are men, where you got men working 13, 14. One thing I agree with what Kevin Samuels would say, if you're not making a certain type of money, you need to be working 50, 60 hours a week. Right. And the average man hears that and think that's crazy until you go to Africa or you go to some of these other developing countries where that's a norm. That's a norm for the man to come home tired and, take care of the home. Now you got dudes that's like, well, look, you work too. So, you need to contribute. And it's like what a woman makes has nothing to do with a man being a man. So I feel like there's a lot of men using the excuse that women are making more money now. Women are taking on more boss roles as a way to kind of step back from masculinity. That's my opinion.
Right. We want to welcome our brother, Ray to the panel. Ray was he's on assignment and he's had his hands full. Ray, go ahead and introduce yourself to those who may not be familiar with your views on this. Can you hear me? Can you hear us?
Yes, bro.
Yeah, I think he.
Oh, he's connecting his audio now.
Okay.
Oh yeah, there he goes.
Okay.
All
Ray,
right, now you connected. What's up, Ray?
Ray, what's going on? We were just talking about you.
Yeah, Mike.
You're on mute. You're on mute.
Okay. What about now?
Yeah.
There you go.
So we were just wrapping up. Submission, and we were talking about how some sisters have an issue with submission, and I submitted the argument that part of the reason why they may have such opposition to the word submission is how some brothers have used it in social media and in these public platforms where they use submit like a woman is less than them and less than them, and they need to know their place. But I don't want to relitigate submission. So we're going on to the next topic, but it still ties into submission. And so what I asked Ma'at was, if a woman is not willing to submit to a man's protection, how can he protect her? I want you to start there before I go on to the next question. If a woman is not willing to submit to a man's protection, how can he protect her?
He can't. There's no way that he can, because she won't follow behind. You have to be behind me in order to be protected. And again, men like protecting who's vulnerable. We like to feel like the person that we're protecting is vulnerable, like children. You don't have a problem with protecting children because we know they're small, they're vulnerable. As long as we see women as vulnerable, then we have no problem with protecting them. Once we see them as not vulnerable and, whatever, then it makes it hard to want to do it. We naturally want to do it as long as they are vulnerable. But when you stand on this I'm not submissive thing, it's a form of not being vulnerable to me. And it makes you less attractive in a protective standpoint and just attractive in a sexual standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Mika, I want to ask you. Let me ask you. So, what are your thoughts on that, real quick, before I ask you another question, man? If a woman won't submit to a man's protection, how can he protect her?
I mean, common sense says, it's funny because women can always understand their relationship when it comes to their children, right? They can completely understand their children submit to them. But when it comes to them having to submit to a man, it's like, oh my God, I can't understand this. If you are crossing the street with your child and your child can't be told, stick close to me, hold my hand, where's your child gonna go when your child don't trust you to lead, or your child is too obstinate to even listen to what the hell comes out your mouth? Your child gonna be what they call roadkill, right?
Yeah.
So women are consistently putting themselves in a position to be roadkill because of this feeling like you have to have this power dynamic. Like, give it up. You know what I'm saying? Do you fight with him to pay a bill? You know what I'm saying? You be like, no, you can't pay that, I'm gonna pay that. When you start fighting that man to pay bills, that's when you start fighting for submission, like of this topic of submission, right? And so it's very simple, right? And we don't even have to get biblical on it, right? I will consistently keep saying this. Somebody gotta be the boss, right? And let's be honest, women don't keep men that act like women. They demean them. They debase them. They leave them. They cheat on them. So if you want a man to be a man, and you want to keep a man that's actually a man, you're going to have to submit at some point, right? You're going to have to submit majority of the time. And I have to say this because it kills me when it comes to, like, women feel like just because they are in a relationship currently, that they are the end all be all. But we understand you can be in a relationship and it be total bullshit. It's just like me. I could be married today. I was married 10 years. It could have been 20. I got married when I was 21. I'm now 43. We could literally be 22 years in right now, right? So being and sustaining a relationship just really don't mean nothing when it comes to how we need to teach these people to be for them to be a success, right? Mm-hmm. We know how men thrive and how men are most successful. Do you think Bill Gates was arguing with Melissa? She was like, no, I can't submit to you and your billions. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just don't work like that. Men become billionaires. Men take over whole societies with women who know how to yield, or women who know how to play the strings behind the scenes. Women have led nations for multitudes of time just by knowing how to not present like they're leading nations, right? Ooh. And so I just want to tell women, right? If you can just tap into that part of yourself, right? That childlike part of yourself that says, I listen to my mama, I listen to my daddy, because I trusted that they had my best interest in mind. That's exactly how you should be looking to your husband. I trust that he has my best interest in mind. So when he say do it and it needs to be done, Just do it. Like, I don't need to be equal. Like, I don't, if I want to be cherished, if I want flowers, and I want him to treat me like I'm the weaker vessel, and I want him to treat me like I'm special, I can't be equal.
Right.
You cannot be equal and be special. That's my whole point here.
All right.
Egalitarian society don't say women can be special. And the majority of y'all women want to be special. Okay. Right?
I did have a follow-up.
Special, go ahead, be equal.
But you know, in the countries that women always have these, when you always, every time you say the word submit, there's someone that's going to make you define the word. But in those countries that the women feel some type of way about it, is in the countries that white people went and colonized. The white people did a very good job at brainwashing women into believing that word is offensive. And it's just in those countries where those women are offensive as Ma'at is.
Okay, hold on one second. All right. We're getting ready to move off from this topic of submission. And, because we have a few more questions that I don't know if we're going to be able to get to all of them. Let's keep the arguments on based. Yeah, our disagreements based on the argument. Let's not make it personal. I will ask the question I want to ask. When because there is an expectation of men being responsible for protecting all women, and whether or not we're married to these women. That's why I led with the question as far as protecting women who won't yield to a man's submission. But so men who whether you're married to them or not, there's this expectation that you, Ray, you, Aaron, me, Rico, that you have to protect them. And so the question I want to ask to the panel is that should men be responsible for the protection of all women or just their wives and female kin? What are your thoughts on that?
Trying to start something.
That's a good question. I feel like it depends on your life's philosophies and morals. So me in particular, I believe in me taking care of my family and protecting the woman in my family is also, taking care of the community, because I'm not responsible for what goes on in someone else's household. So for example, right, let's say, define protection. Like, how do you define? Like, if I'm walking down the street and a girl get knocked upside her head, I gotta go at the guy. Like, what do you define protecting women outside of your household?
Anything. You see a woman being attacked, whether it's verbally, physically, on the street, on the train. Do you say something? I feel
like as a man of honor, you should, even though you got some guys that will say, well, we don't know what she was doing. Because this was my grandma told me one day, right? I was raised in Philly. We all know Philly's crazy. Mm-hmm. And I remember I was about 12 years old, and we was walking down the street, and we seen this couple fighting. And the dude is just, just slapping the hell out of her, whatever. And I'm like, Grandma, like, what should we do? What should we do? She said, mind your business. And when we got in the house, and I'm like, yo, why did we let that happen? She said, listen, we don't know if that girl stole his drugs. We don't know if she stole money from him. We don't know if she usually hits him first. Like, we don't know none of that backstory. So to protect our peace and our peace of mind, let's mind our own business and worry about what's in our household. So I understand it from that standpoint. But then it's also the moral obligation of protecting another human being. So that's why I'm kind of torn in between that, because my grandma was right, but then at the same time, as a man, you see a woman getting, her ass kicked. It's like, all right, bro, you might want to take it a little easy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Y'all get in.
I'm not taking no woman that don't live in my house. No, I'm not protecting a woman that's not living in my house. If I don't care about her, I don't know what the hell she did. No, I'm not protecting her. I don't know what she did. If a man had decided to go upside a woman's head, 99 out of 100, she did something. That it's just not normal for men to just say, I'm just gonna beat the hell out of her for nothing. It's just not, it's not regular. So if it's happening, this dude is a piece of crap, but I'm not running to her defense, especially if it's not a woman in my house. No, that's ridiculous. I don't know what she did.
Okay, so let's scenario, because this happens where a guy will try to talk to a female, a sister, and he'll ask her for her phone number, and she doesn't give him the phone number, and then he jumps on her physically. Are you telling me it happens? It does happen.
Hold on, man.
But how often though?
No.
It conceptualize. How often?
It does happen, right? Whether it's on the train or on the street. Rico, am I making this up?
Well, maybe like in the club, you walk by, come here, girl, and I pull on you or something like that. Like at clubs and lounges, like women do get pulled on and touched and stuff like that. Maybe not. You didn't give me your number. It's more like they're dating their personal space more like that.
I've been rejected hundreds of times, thousands, and I ain't never knocked nobody out for not giving me their phone number. That's just.
So wait a minute. So are you saying that it doesn't happen? Because it does happen.
Okay, people hit the lottery.
So,
I've met a dog that big bar.
We're getting caught up on that. I think he's just trying to use an example. Let's say you walk into a situation and it was like that. Do you feel it's your responsibility?
Yeah, I do. Under those circumstances,
I feel
this dude needs to be handled under those circumstances. Under those unique circumstances, he need to get handled.
If he handle you, do you feel like she's supposed to nurse you back to him?
I mean, I wouldn't mind. She should. I mean, honestly, bring me back to life.
You think it's like
honestly, man, and honestly, because I'm talking as a person who has 3 sons, right? Honestly, it depends on what she's wearing, and I don't give a damn what y'all women say. Nowhere, it depends on what she's wearing. Because guess what? If she got her whole ass out, right? I'm not of that mind of just because I advertise it, just because I look like a duck and I quack like a duck does not mean I'm a duck, right?
Oh, you're a punching bag.
Look, it has to do with if her whole ass is hanging out, her titties is out. She might as well be naked in that club. I'm going to tell my sons, hey, skip her, right? I'm not about
unfortunately,
how did she grow up and
unfortunately,
how treat her. I'm not about to have my son die about no woman who
unfortunately
herself
you said
and who did an advertisement to be jumped on. Like
you said, the buns is hanging out, the boobs is hanging out. She double cheeked up.
How many of these outfits do we see now? Where literally it's a bikini underneath.
Hold on.
Or they whole nipples is showing. Right?
Hold up,
but then they got a little piece.
Let me just say something. That woman who buns is hanging out and boobs is hanging out, she getting protected.
Your sons are gonna holler at her too. Your son gonna holler at her.
But she gonna get it. He gonna get protected.
Your son gonna be checking. Yeah.
Your son gonna be like, hold up, Slim.
Oh no, they gonna be checking.
Don't disrespect.
But are they gonna be protected? That's the question. Are they gonna be protected?
All right.
No.
But I think Abe is saying if she getting beat up because she said no to a guy that tried to talk to her, I don't think that's deserving of getting beat up. Under those circumstances, I don't think that's deserving of a woman getting knocked out because she said no to a guy for hollering at her. That's ridiculous. I don't think, no, that's not right.
So if a man go to the skate park, right, in flip-flops with no protective gear, no guards, no helmets, right, and then he fall and he busts his head, like, right? Are we going to blame the skate park or are we going to blame the man for wearing flip-flops and not being protected in that arena? Like, and this is one thing I have to say, and it's many men, many women I know is going to be mad about this. But let's stop acting like we live in a perfect world where people aren't turned on by breasts and behind and get overstimulated and do stupid things as a result of that overstimulation.
Right. I get that. I get that people are overstimulated. But if you ask somebody for their number and they say no, that doesn't give you the right to beat up on them. Just like if a man asks somebody for, hey, let me hold $1, let me hold $2, and the person doesn't feel like, maybe they're afraid if they go in their wallet, you might snatch it and run, and he says no, that doesn't provide any justification for jumping on that. And I think we got to be careful with that, because look, I'm not keen on women dressing half naked either. But there's no justification to jump on somebody simply because.
Can we agree though that the people who do that kind of stuff are insane? They're not like let's agree to that. Like, people who are literally doing that to women are literally crazy. Like, they are literally insane. Right. They are mentally imbalanced.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Not the norm.
No. What was once an anomaly is starting to become the norm. Like, people are really strange out here. I don't want to say too much because I'm not trying to get to my channel flag. But hey, things are different from what they're teaching in school, from everything. Things that used to be declared as what do you call that? As like a psychological disorder is now considered normal. And I'm not going to go any further than that. I'm just saying that it seems like it's a stretch, but believe me, it's happening more and more. You're starting to hear about more girls getting killed for refusing a man's advances or getting beat up. So it's not like this is like a one-off and it's like you don't hear. You're starting to hear more and more of these stories. Maybe it's just me. I want to move on to the next our next segment, which we will be focusing on our mate selection and who we choose as a partner, right? And so I will start with something that you said, Mika, in the last show. And you said that once upon a time, men used to be good pickers. You recall that? Yeah. So you said once upon a time,
I do.
You said men used to be good pickers.
Yes.
And now men lack discernment. Men are no longer good pickers.
That's a whole word. That was a whole word right there.
You said men are no longer good pickers when it comes to choosing a mate. And so I'm going to ask the entire panel. Well, I'll start with the women first on this, on the sisters first on this. Why do you think men have become so terrible when it comes to choosing a good woman? I want to hear from the women first.
You want to go first, Matt? Or?
Mod.
Oh, okay. I can go first.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it has a lot to do with what, we talk about as far as media, period. I did a series before on my channel, Your Mind Is Not Your Own, and it shows the different programming over the ages. So going all the way back from newspapers to magazine articles to the way that they programmed us through music, through, commercials, all of those types of things. So even they were talking about the word sexy is really a new invention. It was actually created by a fashion designer. And so women start liking to be called sexy. So, here we are. So the thing is it's been programmed in us to go after things that are not in our best interest. And so a lot of men, I say men, but women do it too, but since we're talking about men right now, I'll say that men are choosing to find something that is eye pleasing, right? Which is a programming within itself. Because what you find appealing. We can have all of this about what is it called? What is the preferences, right? Preferences are just things that have been programmed within you. So instead of actually looking at what that person brings, so a balanced man, right? A balanced man will look at a woman and, he might say, okay, she's attractive because that's what brings you there in the first place, right? Men are visual creatures. So there's nothing wrong with a man saying, I find this woman to be attractive. But then a lot of times it stops there. You need to be saying, okay, this woman, her mindset, this mindset is how she's going to be raising her daughters. When my daughter is a teenager, what is this woman going to be saying to my teenage daughter or to our sons? Is she going to be able to cook me healthy meals? All of these things have to go into actually looking into your mate and not just, is she good? Is she good on my arm? Or is she sexually pleasing to me? It's so much more than that. But because we have been programmed by society, by media, social media, all through the years, this did not just happen all of a sudden on social media. This has literally been happening for decades. And so this is something that you have to be actually so keen and aware of. You have to understand, it's even how we teach our children. We teach our children, do you see that program right there? When you sit and you're looking at a movie, do you understand that they are trying to program you? That's what it's called. It's called a program, right? So understanding these programs and what are they doing when they put people together, when you see certain movies, when you see that they're bringing out a Black Ariel, you already know before they even show you who the prince is, you already know who that prince is going to look like because of the programming that has been placed in our society. So the thing is, as men and women, we got to do it too, but as men, you have to understand that, and you have to be intentional about actually mating and what that looks like, because again, it goes back to what characteristics is she bringing into this relationship to show me she is valuable as a wife, as a spouse, as a life partner, and not that she just looks good.
Right. Go ahead, Aaron.
Let me assert that. So I feel like a lot of that has to do with how easily sex has become available to the average man, from porn to prostitution to the fact that you have women out here having these hot girl summers. It's like, why should we take the time and get to know who you are on the inside and stuff like that, where we're going to get the benefits of a marriage within the first couple weeks. I mean, I'm gonna speak on behalf of myself. Growing up, the fact that I was attractive and I had a good mouthpiece, I never really had to do too much to get that deep into the woman to even know if she's a good woman or not. And that's how I ended up having 2 kids out of wedlock. So I feel like it goes more to protecting the innocence, or I guess what they call it, the chastity, women. That's why I always identified more with Islam. I always like the idea of women being covered, because it's a lot easier to keep a man focused on who you are when you covering up your boobs, when you covering up, your body. But now you have women that are literally dying. I was living in the Dominican Republic. I see Black women coming down there paying these Dominican doctors that I know aren't real doctors, but enough people went to them and stuff like that. They want to pay that $1,500. You literally have women dying to get attention from men. And then you ask yourself, you spent $1,500 on your body, but did you spend $1,500 on therapy? You know what I'm saying? You spent, $1,500 on makeup and weave and hair and stuff like that, but you're not spending that on classes to make yourself a better woman. That's because there is no prize for being a good, what's the word I'm looking for? A woman that's not promiscuous. What's the word I'm looking for? A host. There's no rewards for being a host. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I feel sorry for the women that still hold out. I feel sorry for the women that still cover up because they don't have a chance when you got a woman that's walking right next to her. They got like you said, we're visual creatures. You know, God designed a woman to be unresistible because if he didn't, it would end the human race. So the fact that, you know, you can hop on your phone, see women half naked, you can watch a movie. That's why it's so hard for men to stay faithful in marriages. It's not that we don't want to be faithful. It's just we go to the mall, we go here, we go there. It's just constantly in your face. So I feel like if you go look even back, let's say in the early 1900s, women didn't even wear pants back then. The fact that women wear pants now, that's something new. 100 years ago, women wore the long dresses. You guys covered, and then it's like every decade, you know, less and less and less. Even for men too, you got men taking pictures with these shirts off, stuff like that, and then we're moving into a time where it's like, well, if you don't accept that, then you know you're stuck in the past. So I feel like if we don't get to the point where, because women control access to sex, let's just be real. If women start saying no, and you know we're not going to do this and we're going to do that, men will have no chance. They will have no choice but to adapt. Even when I talk to my great grandparents and my grandparents, we used to have to go check with the man before I could even take the woman out to even have an opportunity to get that far with her. So I feel like we need to start going to more of those more traditional morals that a lot of people don't want to go to because everyone wants to be spiritual and, you know, change their genders and pray to rocks and burn sage and stuff like that.
I will hold on. Give me 1 second. I just 20 seconds. I will say to your point, you know, there was a time when showing a woman showing her feet was too erotic, and you know, and then it went from showing the feet to, oh my God, did you see her ankles? You know what I mean? And then from the ankles, it became the shins. And by the 50s and 60s, it was the mini skirt. And now you got people showing thongs and everything. It's just getting.
Oh, you do know a lot of this, and we're obsessed with celebrity culture, right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of this did come from celebrity culture. So again, that's why I say it has a lot to do with programming. And so, you know, a lot of people who have watched these things, you know, it just gets passed down. So a lot of the way that we dress now is predicated off of the prior generation and what they were programmed to think and do. You know, it passes on. They were showing how fast food companies would adhere to the Black community. Mm-hmm. And so what do? They put what was deemed as our culture, our music into fast food commercials to get us the way that we spoke, the way that we talked, just to get us to go buy those things. Right. So how much more of that is in the way that we dress, the way that we respond to one another? All of these things are, and that's why I say we do have to be very intentional on both sides. You know, right. There has to be a level of discipline from a man to say, I want a future partner for life. Right. I don't want someone just for the moment. I want this person, you know, and it's nothing wrong with having someone that is attractive and looks good, right? You know, I joke with my husband all the time and be like, well, if I look like this, would you have married me? You know, we joke about those things like that all the time. But the thing is it has to be more than that, right? I do know that a lot of women do go, you know, the level, and there's I had this conversation with a friend of mine recently about the level of makeup that a woman puts on and all of those things. All of these things are really just about insecurities and where these insecurities come from. And you can say which came first, the chicken or the egg, right?
I'm sorry, but so then you agree with Ray, and this is one of the rare times that you agree with Ray, because Ray, and I think it was like 7 months ago, he had his rant where he said that women are insecure and they pack up a lot of makeup. They wear these ridiculous long eyelashes and weave. And he said they hate themselves. And I mean, you're not saying it as blunt and direct as he's saying it, but it does sound like you agree with him. Just real quick, and then I want Ray to chime in because I cut him off. And then I think Rico was trying to get in as well.
Yeah, so it is a level of insecurity, and that's why I say, like, what came first, the chicken or the egg, right? Because a lot of women will say that they're doing it for themselves, but we do know, like, if you're going and you're getting a BBL, you getting a you're getting a breast enhancement, or you getting a tummy tuck, you're not just doing that for yourself, you're doing that for the male gaze. Right. And to the point of, like Aaron said, that women are killing themselves over that, right? And so that's a lot of what we have to look at as far as why we do it, and being intentional about how we are choosing our mates when it comes to that. Because, there's even this lingo out there now that's saying, like, real bodies are for the poor, right? So, now they're trying to put a stigma on women who are actually still having their real natural bodies. So, it's a lot of things that we have to look at. And so we cannot just say it's one or the other. It's both of us having to be intentional. And there's certain questions that you need to ask that woman, no matter what she looks like. What are you? What's your mental state like, right? Like, what is your vision? What are your goals? What do you want to see in this family? Both of you have to be coming together and making sure that you both have the characteristics that align. You have to be in alignment with the person that you're choosing.
Good
And
thoughts.
with what my aunt said, I agree with that wholeheartedly, especially when she was talking about men need to do more vetting of the women before they get into a relationship with them. I mean, she has very good points at that. But I'm gonna say that women do control more than I think you all know y'all control a lot, but women control more than I think that women really know that they control. Back in the 20s and 30s, men used to get married to women straight out of high school. They were 20, 21 years old. And the reason for this was because that's in a man's sexual prime. And the options for sex was just not there for men at that age. Women really were not having sex. It wasn't like now where they're very promiscuous. Men had one option, whatever girl gave them some, we like who like us back. And you at the sexual prime of your life then. As a man, you're producing the highest level of testosterone at that time. So you want sex so bad, so desperately. And if only one woman is offering you sex, what do you have? You're going to marry this woman. That's why a lot of men at that age was marrying at an early age. But now my options are unlimited. But you can't just offer a man that many sexual options and then make him get into a relationship. Why would I do that? And to what Aaron's point is, it's no point in me marrying a woman. I can literally have sex with beautiful women as much as I want, as whenever I want, and nobody's gonna say no. And why would I marry them? And like I said, there's a reason why men got married early at that age. Is because women forced us to do it through sex. As shallow as it may seem, sex controls men. That's just the bottom line. And if you take all of our sexual options away and just give us one sexual option, we'll bow down quick. We'll bow down quick. Just imagine all the guys on the panel. If you didn't have the options that you've had in your past or whatnot, and you just had one woman, how desperate would you be to be with a woman? You wouldn't just be able to jump back and forth, because the attitude now is, I don't have to take this. She could call from. And I can say, hey, if I walk around the corner, there'd be 3 more women talking about it. And that's what you all control. And so that's the only reason why I put the onus on women, is because y'all giving us so many options.
I have a question just like for the men then, right? So when you say sexual, like you have all these sexual options, right? Is it just that you just want to have sex? Like that's it? Like it's like, hey, I just want to have sex? Or are you actually wanting to have a lasting relationship and build with someone else? Because because maybe you're just in a different bracket than other men, because I know that there are men who actually want to build and create a legacy and have, generations. It's about generations past them. And it's not just about having sex. So I guess that's where I'm confused, because where does the discipline on the man's side, because it can't solely be about women who are just giving you sex. It has to also be a discipline side where you say that I can see past that. because to me, adolescent boys are like, oh, sex, but men are like, I want to create a legacy. So maybe you can help me understand that.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, when you're talking about legacy building, that is something that takes time. I mean, you're not going to get that from somebody who's in their late 20s, right? I mean, for most men, you don't start hitting your financial stride till you're in your late 30s, early 40s anyway, right? And so when you start thinking about legacy, you're going to be in your mid to late 30s, maybe early 40s, right? Because at that point, you can afford it. I mean, again,
I'm not talking about just money, Abe. I'm just talking about, finding someone, because you can find that at any point in your life and saying, this is a person that I want to build with. That's literally what me and my husband did. We are literally building. Yes, we're not seeing the fruit of our labors until now in our 30s, but we decided at 20 something years old, this person has the same mindset that I have, and this is who we can build with. Now, we didn't think it like that deep.
Yeah.
Right, because we were still young.
But it's the two of you. You have two of you. And so the thing is, when you look at a lot of our younger brothers and sisters, they're growing up in a single parent household, and it's just mom. And I know we're tough on single moms, but there's sometimes when single moms are just not around because they have to work two jobs, or if you look at it like this, you work 8 hours a day, which is really a 9-hour day because they factor in that 30-minute lunch and 2 15-minute breaks. So that's 9 hours. And then if you have a commute of an hour, add an hour on the front end, hour on the back end, they've been gone for 11 hours. And then you have to factor in the preparation time. Do you see what I'm saying? You see where I'm going with this? And so when these women are at home and they have to provide meals for their kids, or if they don't, they end up giving them fast food, and the kids end up with diabetes and high blood pressure and all of that other stuff. And so that's part of the reason too why I'm always confused as to why you have these single women out here who say, I don't need a man. I can do it by myself, when they're out here.
That's a insecurity within itself, right? So it's kind of like a projection. So because you don't think that you can find one, you say those types of things like, I don't need a man.
No, I get it, but you gotta be careful what comes out of your mouth, because you can end up making it a
language is important.
Yeah, right. You can make it a self-fulfilling prophecy. I want to get Mika and Rico in here before we move on to the next topic, because Aaron said something that was quite interesting that I do think I want us to address when it comes to when you're down on your luck, man, finding a woman to be your ride or die. All right. But go ahead. Rico, Mika, please jump in on here and share your thoughts.
Wait, okay, you saying either one of us? Okay, I'm not. You didn't put it like, you didn't give it to us like in the question.
No. I wasn't. We haven't moved on. We're still talking about the same thing. Aaron, Ray, and Mahad has been talking about when it comes to finding, why you think men are so terrible when it comes to choosing a good woman. Because you and we spoke about this, and you had something interesting to say about it.
I got a lot of interesting things. Well, I don't know. Some people may not find what I have to say interesting, but to be a good pick, you gotta have somebody to pick from. I think we live in a world full of people that are like rent-a-cars, and so you got to pick from a bunch of cars that been rented out by a whole bunch of people, and you got to pick one to take home and keep. It's kind of, everybody don't want to do that, because we don't know if you still for rent. A lot of these cars still for rent. Brother talked about men not being disciplined, but it's hard to be disciplined when Your lady still got a for sale sign on her or a for rent sign on her, and then everybody walking down the street got a for rent sign on them. So it's like, what are you committing to?
Right.
And so I'm not going to be long winded on it. I'm gonna just kind of leave it there. It's just we live in a rent-a-car society, rent a person, rent a boo. You know, people that got vacation days and all kinds of, you know, they got to do. They're just for sleeping with on holidays, or whatever. You know.
So, Mika, what's your take on what our brother Rico had to say? What's your take on what you heard?
I mean, this is the thing, and it's just really interesting to women. Like, what we want from men is we really want, at the bottom line, we really want guidance. We really want leadership. We really want support. We really want protection, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're saying you want all those things from a person, and then you're telling the person they can't be in a parental role, then, I mean, you're just really not going to get them, right? So when we talk about women and their behavior, women are reckless because men allow them to be reckless. I mean, let's just be honest. If men was to be like, you know what, you ain't getting nothing from me, you ain't getting none of the stuff, like the eggplant is completely put up, I'm not paying your bills. Like, that's why women are so mad about like Red Pill and Passport Brothers, because they like, man, how dare you? How dare you? How dare you tell me you're gonna turn away from me and do something different? But honestly, men have to begin to start, like, it's all discipline, right? And women can say, oh, don't treat me like a child, whatever. But women thrive off discipline, right? Because women are more childlike than they'll admit, okay? So when you put a woman in a dynamic where she can run all over the place, like they say, you give somebody an inch, they gonna take a mile, right? That's what's going on with women right now. Like, they've been given an inch, they taking miles, they out here wilding, right? So they're wilding because they really want men to step in. Like, all of this wayward acting and talking against it is literally like, look at me. You know, it's just like them kids where they be like, you know, I didn't think my parent loved me because my parents showed me no discipline, right? Kids will say that, like, I never believed my parents loved me because they didn't show me no discipline. So, that being said, when I said, I'm gonna go back to that main point that AK brought up, men don't have good pickers no more. Like, they literally don't. Like, y'all will literally entertain every type of woman that you say you cannot stand.
There's a reason
as opposed to doing what?
All day long, every day, you will entertain these women. And so, just like Aaron has said earlier, these women who keep their legs closed, who don't dress risque, who don't do all these things, they losing. 100% they're losing, because y'all are still giving all of the attention to these squeaky wheel women.
Because they have
sexual attention.
They have the for rent sign on. We're not even going to
justify it, though, right? We're not even going to justify it. We just going to bring out the point.
Or you just going to say the point without justification.
But you decide.
Well, no, but me as a woman,
okay,
if I'm losing doing what men say that they want me to do, what am I going to start doing? What men say?
You know why you're losing?
Because I see my homegirl who over there hot and ready like a Little Caesars pizza, consistently got every man on her, right? And Jasmine Sullivan got a song, right, where she talk about, like, she talk about why she had to be the hoe, because she say these hoes out here winning, right? These hoes out here winning. If if you as a person cannot say to a man, look, you gotta wait to get some from me, right? Or I don't dress like that. Literally, I have been told, like, I've literally said, like, it's certain stuff I don't wear in public. I've literally had men be like, oh, you wouldn't wear that dress for me if I took you out in public? Like, you wouldn't wear that with me? No, because I don't wear that kind of shit in public. Right? I don't wear that kind of shit in public. If you want to see me wear that, then we're going to have to be at home. I've literally had men be like, I don't know. Like, and that's what I'm saying. So as a woman, if you standing for something, you are literally getting crossed over left and right. Right? But as a woman, you have to take it within yourself and be like, you know what? I'm going to be this regardless of what these men say. I'm going to be this. Go ahead.
Are we talking about a born again Christian that dressed like that, or a woman that was like already like that? Because Blac Chyna is starting to like switch her image up.
We ain't even gonna talk. Blac Chyna ain't even in.
Please don't do that.
I don't give a damn what she
Please don't do that.
To tomorrow to
but look, check this out.
I don't care what she do. Right?
I'm
not talking about the ones who literally just got off the pole and is like, oh, well, I don't wear that now.
I thought we weren't talking about. You talking about
women who have been consistent in what they stand for.
Mika.
They are not winning.
Mika. They're not winning because the other girls have the full rent, full hire, yes, we're open, bright neon sign. So the difference is you said men used to be.
But good. You as a man are saying you don't want that. You'll never like that. You don't want that.
Chill. Let me please. Can't come over there and hug. I would bear hug you right now if I was in the same room. Chill. You said men used to be good pickers. Men didn't really have to be good pickers because good wives presented themselves to men back in the days. Historically, if you even don't go that far back, I often tell Abe, the women used to stand in lines at coal mines and at factories with lunch pails just to find a man. They didn't know, like, hey, you don't got lunch? Okay, here we go. I got your lunch right here. I'm showing you I'm wife material. And then that brother, like Abe would say, we take the one who make herself available. She brought me lunch 3 times this week. Now I'm coming out there looking for Bertha May, and I'm take my check and buy me a little slice of land and put a cabin on it and put Bertha May up in there because Bertha May was bringing me some good soup and some good bologna sandwiches. We weren't good pickers. There were wives out there who the wives then had the understanding of what the neon sign of that time was. And it was that picnic basket. It was that lunch pail. It was that knit cap that she knit and the mittens that she knit, those were the neon signs. You now
so you
walking around.
We were never good pickers. You realize
no,
that, right?
we picked.
You
we
didn't
have
more better selections to pick from, but you were never.
I mean, you know what? I couldn't say if it was a better selection. What I can say is that the better prepared women for being wives are not showing that you don't have your neon sign on. You don't have your yes, we're open. The LaQuisha got the electric blue hair. We at least know LaQuisha gonna open the legs for us. And it's not all that we want, but we know what's happening. When you walking through Walmart, you look like you somebody white. So they're not coming to you. Like society isn't set up that way to I don't know if there's a place out where it is where you go and you find wife-minded individuals. I don't know where that place is. It ain't at church.
I can tell you where it isn't. It's not in these dating apps either. And I think
I'm all up in them. I know.
Yeah, I think a lot of folks are feeling that they're gonna find their Mr. Right or Miss Right on these dating apps. I don't know where people got that from, and I think it's a matter of convenience. And
eHarmony commercial.
The thing is,
I'm sorry, should I?
The thing is, people are window shoppers, and I'll say this and move on because I want to go to this last segment before our closing remarks. People are window shoppers. If you go online on a dating app and you meet somebody within 2 weeks and you have sex with them, chances are you'll stay on the dating app because you know that it's easy. You're like, okay, well, it doesn't take me that long, man. I just go on a dating app and,
that's how men think.
Right. And so the thing is, then it's like no incentive, I'll mention briefly, because the reason why I brought up, this question about, why, well, actually I didn't even ask it because we don't have time, but Ray would always mention, Ray is off the grid when it comes to social media. He canceled his Facebook, Instagram. He has no social media presence whatsoever. And Ray would talk to me and he would say, man, men have to go outside and they have to start meeting women in the real world, and they have to learn how to interact and have face-to-face discussion. Ray, you recall that conversation, right?
Yeah.
And so so the thing is, I was going to ask, like, what role did you think social media played in our poor choices? But we're kind of out of time now.
That's a good question.
Yeah,
I would love to answer that.
You know what? If everybody can give me your brief 45-second answer or give me a brief minute as to why you think social media, what role you think social media has played in our poor choices in selecting a mate. Go ahead, Greg.
1 minute. Oh man, 1 minute. Well, this is the thing though. If the idea of what builds a man's confidence and what makes him able to become a good pickup artist is that he has to take rejection his whole life. Women start out rejecting us when we're young, and they literally reject on a regular basis. I don't think they really understand that. And for a man, rejection is confidence, because the more and more you get rejected, it takes one girl to say yes. And it triples your confidence over a amount of seconds. You take that ideology over life and you take it into jobs, you take it to interviews, and you just slowly start building yourself up. But with social media, now you don't have to walk up to a girl and say, hey, how are you? What's your name? It takes balls to be able to do that. Women don't understand how much balls it takes to walk up to a woman and risk her telling you to get out of her face. So when you don't gain that confidence, you have the men that we have now, the ones that are 30 years old and younger. They don't know how to actually talk to a woman. They're afraid. When I tell a guy that I walked up to a woman that's attractive, he's always like, how did you do that? It's a strange thing. And that's what social media is doing, because all men have to do, they don't have to risk you face-to-face telling them to get out of their face. All they have to do is just send you a message to DM. They don't actually have to walk up to you and actually talk to you. That is a lost art, and it's affecting, because when you meet her, you're going to have to be able to converse with her. Women are not good conversationalists. They can add on to a conversation, but they want you to start the conversation and they want you to keep the conversation going. That's the nature of the business when you go into being a dating guy. So if you don't have to do that anymore, men don't know how to talk to women. So it makes it harder to have relationships like that. It makes it real hard, because all I got to do is see a bad woman on TV, click on her shit, and say something to her. If she doesn't respond to me, I'm not embarrassed. Men need to be embarrassed to learn. We have to get rejected. We need to get blue balls. That's how you learn. Blue balls teaches you a lot.
Right. Let me add on to that, man. And also, I feel like social media raises the delusion of women thinking they have all these great candidates after them. Like, for example, right? I will talk to a woman, hey, there's not a lot of six-figure earning men that reach these standards. Oh, I got 20 men in my DMs right now. And I'm like, well, yeah, they all trying to hit. You're comparing me, someone who actually is trying to court you, to the guy with the verified check. Well, now you could bait to buy the verified check, so they don't hit the same anymore. But, before you could buy them, you have a woman that'll get 5 guys with verified checks in their DMs and they automatically think they Beyonce. When in reality, no, that's just a delusion that social media is giving you. Same thing with these dating apps. A girl will get all these swipe rights because she know how to take the picture right, and she they are quality options. And then when the guy that, you know, maybe not be that tall, might not make that much money, goes at her, well, no, I know I can do better than you, because women are always going to go for the best option they believe they can have. Men are a little bit different. We more so we take what we can get, versus women, you know, they're always looking for the next best thing because of these dating apps, because of social media. It's giving women the false illusion that there's more good quality men that there really are. And then I asked women, said, so you can tell this man makes 6 figures based off of his photos? Because I was the brokest when I looked the richest on social media. It's usually when I'm like toned down, dressed like this is when I got the most bread. So you got a lot of women, I be asking like, have you seen these men bank accounts? Have you seen their tax returns? You know, you had PPP season, you know what I mean? Having people out here like they're football players and basketball players where they was living off the same, you know, 20, 30 grand for a year. So I feel like it adds to that false delusion that women already have.
Right. Anyone else before we head to the final segment?
I think social media has messed things up because it got everybody in the daggone house.
But got everybody doing what?
In the house. Everybody in the house.
So you know? So you like Ray.
Pretty much you meet more people on the computer than you could in the club. And,
they still at Walmart,
and people do leave out the house, they still like this. They still glue.
Yeah, people are really socially awkward. That's what I'm coming to find out. Like you can't even have stimulating conversation with people because they literally like, you know, it's kind of like if you try to be dating that way, like you'll have people that rather text you than call you because they know if they call you, you're going to see through them and you're going to see they're so socially awkward and you're going to see all these things about them that they're hiding, right? And that they can hide behind with social media. So it's...
But likewise, you got people who would rather have your social media than your telephone number because they want to peer into your life.
Yeah, but you're only going to present your best self on social media, though. That's what kills me about people. Like you're only going to present what you want people to see. You're not going to present what you don't.
Right. So my social media looks very, very boring. So I've met women in person and I've had them locked in. But I can tell when they go on my social media, they're like, no hotel lobbies, no mountains in the back, no camels. He's not riding camels. He's not. He didn't take a picture with a tiger. What's he doing?
So
is he driving?
Hey, man, so I want to answer my aunt's question, man, about men, you know, choosing sex. Is that she asks, is that what men do? They choose, they don't look into the future. And I want to say that men are not sexually responsible. we just not. And I never thought that men were really sexual. I'm saying I don't think that men have the mental capability to be sexually responsible, because no matter what any man says, if you give him the options of beautiful women, he gonna take that. If he don't have options of beautiful women, he's not gonna. He could be faithful. All those men that talk that, those men usually don't have that option. But if you put Halle Berry in front of him,
okay.
Go ahead.
So what you're saying is that even if you are married, you would not be faithful to your wife. Is that what you're saying?
No, that's what I'm saying. But I'm saying it to your face. Most men just do it behind you.
That's a lack of discipline, and that is totally on the man.
I disagree with you.
On the man.
I think that if a man has a wife at home, then all of that other stuff loses a lot of power.
Ladies,
that's the thing, because
attractive sister come live with you and your husband and she ran on hard times.
Say that again.
This question is for the woman, right? Let's say you had a man and y'all were married, right? Would you let your attractive sister, that might even look better than you, come live in your house for 1 year until she got her stuff together with you and your husband?
Hell no, most women wouldn't do that.
Why not? He should have
because they already know what's up.
Yeah.
This is the thing though about men, right? You gotta catch you, and this is why women like reformed hoes, right? Because reformed hoes is tired. They tired of it. They like, you know what? You look good enough. I'ma stick with you. I'm tired. My stuff don't work the same as it worked. I can't do everything I could do. That's why women love reform hoes, because these men who just now get into their point. That's why women be like, well, you don't want to build no man, because once he get to where he gotta go, he gonna be screwing around on you. He gonna be doing this and he gonna be doing that. You damn right. Because he is not gonna miss an opportunity. That's what Ray is telling you. He is not gonna miss an opportunity, right? But an old man hoe, he tired. Right? It's like, did y'all see that Deion Cole on Netflix, the newest one he got? He was like, look, I'm gonna tell you right now. You know what I'm saying? Sandwich 6. Sandwich 6. I don't know. Sandwich. Right?
Yeah.
So once a man gets to a certain point, he ain't that worried about all of that.
You ain't like you are. You ain't like you are in your 20s. But that don't go away. It's a slow down period, but that monster is in there. Now, people don't want to hear me say it. See, this is the thing. People always talk about they want honest people. No, they don't. Because I'm saying something that's not complimentary. But if one man say to disagree, listen, man, I got a lot of friends, man. I've been a man for a long time. You can't give no man beautiful women options and put that in his face and him say, bro, stop. What are we talking about, man? It don't happen in no kingdom. Have you seen a bunch of lions? Have you seen a bunch of lions ignoring a bunch of lionesses when they want to have sex? Have you seen that on National Geographic? I ain't.
There's a lot
they smash all of them.
To say to that, because there's a lot of married men who have discipline within their relationship. They value their wife, they value their marriage, they value their children, because we know that when the parents are no longer together, that affects the children. So I struggle with like some of these concepts that are being said, because again, it's a lack of discipline, and it's also a lack of not actually being inside of it in order to understand how you grow with that person. You see couples who have been together 50 plus years, right? And they say, I still see her still see her or see him in that same light. They know that that person has gotten old. They know that that person does not look like the same way that they looked in their 20s, but it's a level of the fact that they actually grew together in that relationship. They value each other. They love each other. That is the person that they have committed to. So a lot of times when people are saying this, it's just that you lack that discipline. You and
the majority of people though who have gotten to that point have cheated and just have never been caught. I mean, let's be honest.
But let's talk about discipline, right? I've been fasting for Ramadan for almost 2 weeks right now, right? I'm literally fasting for my creator, for God, the person that brought me here, right? I'm not going to go to a buffet and sit there with my homie and watch him eat. That's the equivalent of these work wives, right?
Well, let me go there. Let me go there with you, right? Because I fast all the time. So the thing is that when you develop the level of fasting, so some people fast once a year, some people fast whatever. But when people fast, like I literally fast every week, all of the time, and I've been doing it for years. And so when people do that, I can go and I can sit in a buffet and it's not going to matter. I've been vegan for several years. People will
to a man. We need it. Like we need it. We'll be punching walls.
No. Hold on. So let me finish this point real quick. So I've been vegan for a few years, right? When I was first in my journey, I knew that I could not go into certain places and sit down and be like, you know what, I'm going to sit here and not be tempted by meat. But there was a point once I got used to, once I understood the importance of what I was doing, all of that, everything that goes into changing your lifestyle, right? once I understood that, now I remember going out with a friend and she had a big old piece of chicken on her plate. She was like, oh, I'm so sorry that I'm eating this. And I said, that's not bothering me, because you have now internalized what that really means. So you're saying that men need various vaginas. That does not make sense. No, they do not. They do not. That is programming at its finest. You have
I blame.
The way a woman needs attention is the way men need.
Hey, wait. You know what? Listen. I blame the men on this panel for her opinion came from one man saying that's not true, and every man up here knows what I'm talking about.
It's not one man.
You're not listening to what I'm saying. You're not listening. You're not missing. You're not listening to my point. My point is that it's men on this panel that know the game. But because you don't want to hear that, it takes one man to say what you believe.
Like, that's the
thing. Her opinion came from men lying to her.
You cannot put that out there.
When somebody tells her 100% stuff, she's not going to want to hear that, because she could always go to somebody that's going to tell her a lie. I ain't said nothing that's a lie.
All right.
I ain't saying no lie.
You can have it. You can have it.
How easy it is to
arouse a man. Got to have it.
Do you know how easy it is to arouse a man? Do you know? You say you was Christian, right?
Yes,
you was Christian.
I do know how easy it is.
Hold on. When you go in church, right? When you go in church, how do they hug? How do you hug? How does a man hug a woman in church?
Sideways, the side church hug.
Y'all can for real have it. Y'all can for real have it. Like,
even in Islam, right?
Even in destroying your fairy tale. That's what we doing. We destroying your fairy tale.
Shake a woman's hand.
No, it's not a fairy tale.
It's so easy
for me to destroy your fairy tale.
It's not.
All right. Well, we are at 9:49. I do want to play a video from the all man's session where
oh shoot.
Yeah, Aaron, I want you to elaborate on this point. Give me 1 second. So Aaron, because of you, Aaron, because of your point, I went and did some research, and I'll talk about that after I play this clip. And I do want to get the sister's opinion on this.
Yes. Up until, because it just really hit me. If any of you guys on the panel ever had like a life-threatening illness before, like you thought you wasn't going to make it, like you was like in the bed, like, you know, saying your last prayers and all that? Anybody? So the reason I asked that, right, because I've been that sick before. Like, I couldn't wipe my own ass, I couldn't feed myself, and this was while I was in my 20s. And this girl that I had grew up with, you know, she was the only one that was answering my calls, coming over, taking care of me. 'Cause I'm gonna be real with you. Your homies, when you sick, your homies ain't gonna be coming over wiping your ass. I'm just being real with you. Like, your homies ain't gonna do that. They just gonna be like, yo, you good, bro? You know what I mean? All right, bro, I gotta go do. Because men don't feel sorry for other men. I'm just gonna be real. Y'all, we don't. Like, if I'm sick and I'm fucked up, damn, bro, you good? Take some medicine, bro. Get with me. You be all right. Yo, remember on Paid in Full, when A Boogie got shot? He came around like, yo, people get shot every day, B. Like men don't care. Like, you know what I'm saying? So,
but that's it. But hold on, brother. You say a lot of good points, but you I'm not the host. But I'm just saying, because you say a lot of good things. The
point I'm trying to make is, right, the only benefit that I did see with getting married was when I was at my sickest. I couldn't take care of myself. My mother is deceased. You know, my father wasn't in my life. You know what I mean? My grandmom had Alzheimer's. I literally had nobody. And this woman, you know, came into my life, and, you know, she kind of trapped me into a relationship because, you know, after a couple times of wiping me, she like, yo, so are we like in a relationship, or like I'm just helping you out? Like,
yeah, it's coming.
But I'm gonna be real with you, man. From wiping my creams on my back, from taking me to my doctor's appointments, that was the only time I'm like, damn, I'm so glad I got like a female in my life that's like willing to do this. Because if I was doing that Jody thing and just burning bridges with women and, you know, hitting and leaving, I don't know how I would have got through that.
So here's what I want to say. Because I'm listening, and it sounds like you have a lot of issues with them until it's time, until you need somebody to wipe your ass, until you're sick and need somebody to wipe your ass. And that's kind of cold. So then what the sisters are saying now when they say, well, you just want a slave, because that's how it sounds. Okay, so Aaron was saying that, hey man, he could understand why you would get married, because when he was at his lowest point and he was sick and he was on his deathbed, he didn't have anybody to look out for him. And it was at that point that he realized the value of being married or having a wife. And I was shocked. I was like, really? That's what made you realize the value of getting a wife. And so I actually did some little bit of research, and that is a real thing. They call it the hospice care wife or hospice boo. And so what is like a hospice care wife? A hospice care wife is a woman that men target to be in relationships with or be married to them because they provide, when they get older or when their health starts to fail, the woman can provide them with health care. They can provide them, they can take care of them. And they can also provide them with like certain monetary provisions. They call it being a nurse with a purse. I wasn't aware of this phenomenon. I only, when you said that, I said, well, let me look this up and see if anybody else thinks like that. So, so I wanted to ask the panel, like, because this is like a real thing. Like, what's your take on a growing number of men waiting until they get older or in poor health, or they're in in a dire situation to decide to settle down and get into a committed relationship?
I'll go
I'll
last.
say this: he ain't gonna be with me. Either you seize the moment when the moment is right, or what you're going to end up doing is you're going to die with a prostitute, because that's literally going to be the only person who's going to put herself out there where you have nothing to give. You're literally on your last step. She's literally waiting for you to die, right? But you might die happy because you might end up with a young prostitute. But again, that's not going to be no regular woman that's just going to show up and be like, oh, we dated 15 years ago. You was never ready for a commitment. Now you can't wipe your own behind, and then I'm going to show up and I'm going to wipe your behind. Like, no, bruh. Like, and I say that too. And it was so crazy because I just had a conversation about this. I was like, I cannot play the long game. Like, I literally have been in serious relationship after serious relationship. I'm not the kind where you going to literally be like 3 years, 5 years, and then we like, what are we doing? Like, literally, first year, marriage, something. Like, I don't know how, you know what I'm saying? But some women are very great at playing the long game. They're always there. You know what I'm saying? So they end up with the ring after because they're patient. And they just are literally strategically placing themselves to where you literally are like, oh, now I see her. I'm going to die with her. This is like, but that ain't me. That's all I'm saying.
Any woman playing the long game is just sitting there unknowingly waiting for her future husband's options elsewhere to run out. That's all she doing. So she got to take a little pride in herself and know that she deserves to be chosen and not just landed upon when he misses everything else. I think that I don't want a wife that doesn't feel better about herself and feel like she deserves to be picked. If you feel like it's okay for me to just settle and just kind of land upon you because I got nothing else, You ain't got what it takes to be my woman. You gotta have a little bit of pride about yourself. But again, that we can go back to we can roll around a little bit, but you ain't gonna be my woman. You can call yourself that.
Well, I agree. Listen, I agree with this man. What's the purpose of marrying early when you have a combination of the women that we have to deal with and I'm speaking on the West. When I say these bad things, it's usually at the women of the West. So I'm not going to disrespect the other women of the world because I've been to all these and I know that the women of other countries are way better. So when I'm talking this shooting these slugs, I'm shooting at the women from the West. So when you have the women from the West, what else would they be good for? I mean, because they're for the whole, for the average, for the majority, the overwhelming majority too. Majority could be 51%, but I'm not going to say the majority. The overwhelming majority of women in the West is why would you waste your years of being able to attract women, to be able to have sex with other women? Why would you waste that with heartache and losing your hair? I went bald because. Let me push back for a second. So you're not going to say you're saying the overwhelming majority, but obviously you acknowledge that there are a good number of good women out there. You would acknowledge that, correct? In the West? Yes. 3%. 3%. Okay. Because the thing is, Rigo and I were having this discussion, and we talked about how this new phenomenon of the passport bros and guys going overseas. People actually forget that there was a time that being a passport bro the passport bro equivalent was just going from north to down south. People forget that a lot of people used to go down south to find a good woman. Right? Nobody had to go overseas to find a good woman. Everybody just say, hey, you got a country cousin, man? Hook me up with your country cousin. Right? Mm-hmm. Or they would go down south because women down south were, in a lot of guys' opinion, whether you are from the West Coast or you from the North, women down south were far superior to women from the rest of the country. I mean, just because of how they brought up with family. They keep family together. They believe in owning land. They don't have a problem with you owning a gun. They like to use those terms of endearment. They call you baby. They cook. It's not a big thing. So it was just different. I still have to believe that there are a good number of women like that in the South. So when you say that number is 3%, isn't it a stretch? Are you just exaggerating to make a point? What country did passport bros originate? In the West. You don't see people from Brazil talking about, I'm going to America to get a wife. How often have you heard anybody say, I'm going to Australia, the UK, America to find a wife? You ain't never heard that, and you never will. It's not by accident. It's on purpose. These people look at our women as the worst women on the planet. I've had multiple discussions with these guys, man. And all of them, the consensus is in. We go over there to get their women, to which they tired of us getting their women. They stay away from our women and use our women for the same thing that quite a bit of us use our women for, sex. Hey, man, listen, what I'm saying is harsh, but am I telling a lie? I'm not.
The only person that came clean was Prince Hakeem.
Yeah.
He looked out the movie. And remember, if you've seen the movie, he literally just spun the globe and just stuck his finger like that. Like he wasn't even trying to come to America.
The Queens. Yeah, he sure did.
Prince Hakeem left a beautiful woman willing to do anything for him.
Crazy.
To come to the hood.
Man. That man is crazy.
Yo.
And she was finer. Man, please.
Man,
I'd have took that woman quick,
Y'all
barking
are-
like a dog from me. You think I would have took that woman? Please. You crazy.
Hey,
Really quick, right? I just want to add on to what I was saying in that video. When a man is looking for a wife, I'm talking about a high value man. I'm talking about a man that has the means to pay all the bills, passport stamp you up, have you all to get feminine stuff like that. A man of honor and respect. I'm not going to marry a woman that I know had 50 men in my city run through her. This is not going to happen. But guess what? With social media and dating apps, that is realistic. I have women that think it's offensive when I ask them how many men have you been intimate with, but they have no problem with asking me how much money I make. I feel like if you can ask me how much money I make 6 figures, okay, cool. Is your body count under 20? Or how you going to just ask me that? Because I'm a man of respect and a man of honor. If I'm going to have you on my hip, as my trophy, I don't want a bunch of dudes saying like, oh yeah, I had that trophy last season. See, this is not the NFL where we just be switching championship rings and championship trophies like that. When a man gets his woman, one thing that he likes to show off, yeah, ain't none of y'all had this. This is mine. You know what I'm saying? It's that pride that a man wants to take in his wife, knowing that everyone hasn't been up in that. So to go back to me choosing a woman when I got sick, it was more like, okay, my honor and my respect don't mean as much when I'm dying. If I'm dying and stuff like that, the money and the respect and all that goes out the window. It's like, look, I just want to live. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
so that's all I'm saying, right? You can't tell me as a woman you want me to honor you, respect you, this, that, and the third, but you was doing unhonorable things up until this time. And then talk about, oh, well, when you had your whole face, stuff like that, but guess what? You're not trying to pay these bills, are you? We're not equal. Right. You know what I'm saying? Hey, if you want to pay all the bills, have all the bodies you want. But if I'm going to be paying the bills and you're going to be you're taking on my last name. That means you could literally ruin my reputation, my name by taking it on if you got this poor reputation. I'm being honest with you. It's hard to find a woman that's over 25 that can count her body count on 2 hands. Let's be real.
Over 25. You went up real high.
Wait a minute.
You went way high.
Listen. There are women who are virgins or have been with one guy at the age of 25.
Yeah, precious. Precious.
Hold on. This is no shot at women. This is shot at women, but this is how men feel. We're being honest.
Wait.
We want to teach you all the tricks. All those tricks you come to us with is like, how did you learn that?
Hold on.
Let's hear what my
I'm saying, where are y'all meeting these women? Who are these women? Because
everywhere.
It has a lot.
In college campuses.
It has a lot to do.
We're all saying the same thing. We're all saying the same thing. We're all wrong. Well, some people don't like the truth. We all saying the same thing.
Every 7 years when the locusts come out, it doesn't matter how much you dislike locusts. You're going to step on some, fly hit you in the face, another one going to hit you in the ear. 30 of them going to be in the grill of your car. They're everywhere. You running over them, they in the tread. It's nowhere you meeting these women. That's what
she never had to date. She never had to date them.
If you're having the same outcome, that's the thing, because this is what
you're having the same outcome because that's what you see when you come out.
This is what I even say to women: if you are attracting the same type of man, you do need to start looking at yourself and looking at why you keep attracting these same type of, because unless you've been with thousands, let's be honest here. Like, unless you've been with thousands and thousands of women, or this woman has been with thousands and thousands of men, you have a very small sample size of what you're actually trying to say, that all women are like this or all men are like this, when you have not even been with the majority of women that exist in this world or in this country or in your sphere or whatever it is, in your city, whatever it may be. It's just it's very troubling to me how we end up projecting our bad experiences onto a whole group of people or a whole group of women or a whole group of men. Like, that's the issue that I see, because Have you been with thousands of women? If you've been with thousands of women, then maybe I can say you can.
Man, I can pick.
Right.
It's barbershop quartet. It's barbershop quartets all over the world who's singing the same song.
Dudes
stands across America singing this song.
But even beyond that, barbershop quartet, statistically, women are more sexually active than men. Statistically, if you was to literally look it up right now, and you was to literally, because I
don't even need to say nothing. I'm gonna just let you.
Women have more sexual partners than men on average right now, right?
Like the few.
So that's taking into account all men, right? Whether they're attractive and all of that. Common sense says women have more opportunities to have sex than men. Like, and we got to be real about that. That's why a majority of women will have who knows how many different baby daddies, right? But then men won't have as many baby mamas as baby daddy. Women, like, if you go into, and trust me, I'm talking statistics because I've actually researched it, right? So if you go into this, you know, even when you get into that cheating portion of it, what we was talking about earlier, women are almost neck and neck with men as far as cheating percentages. But we never want to acknowledge that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and so I think we literally have to say this. Looking at sexual liberation, looking at the women we know, if we're going to be honest, okay? I'm going to keep it 100. I'm going to keep it a stack. Majority of the women, and this is not me slumming it, right? This is not me whatever. Majority of women I know who have had more than 10 sexual partners. Majority.
That's terrible.
No, I'm just saying, but that's life. That's being honest. There's not a lot of women who are of a certain age who have less than that, if we're just being honest, especially in this sexual liberation. Now, if we go back 30 years, if we go back 40 years, no, it wasn't like that. It was I could count a lot of women whose sexual partners were less than that. But we're just keeping it a stack right now. So then if you're keeping it a stack and you're saying, look, women are more sexually promiscuous than they were, right? And on average, women are more sexually promiscuous statistically than they've had more sexual partners than men, right? Because you're taking into account all types of men. You're not just taking into account fine men and men who make money and men who play sports. Yeah. You're taking into account all men, right? Statistically, women have more partners.
A fat chick can get more men than a 5'4" average guy.
Exactly.
Wait. No. A fat chick can get. No, I'm sorry. Let me not say that. A woman who is not so
attractive,
not so fetching to the eyes, can get more partners than a very attractive man, actually.
Easily.
I mean, listen, we all been in elementary school, junior high school, where that girl went behind the bleachers with all the cool dudes.
We all knew what he was going to say.
She went behind the bleachers with all the cool dudes, and they all had a pizza.
Yeah. We all know.
Did all the men? No.
Hey,
he wasn't fine. But she had the whole football team.
Okay, we gonna have to we run over. We're gonna have to leave it there. When we do, we'll go ahead and go to closing remarks, and I want us to end on a positive note and look for solutions. Now, Ray, I understand you hate being positive. I know being positive causes you to break out, but
no, brother, you want to be a contrarian.
But the thing is, here's the thing. So here's the thing, Ray. What I want you to do is, in your closing remarks, tell the men and women of the United States of America, or the women of the U.S., how they can be more like women overseas, because you seem to have a positive view of the women overseas. So why don't we end with you teaching the women in the United States of how they can be like women overseas, and everybody else, give us possible solutions. How do we get out of this rut? Okay, so Ray, I'm gonna start with you and go across to Aaron, Tamika, Ma'at, then Rico, then I'll close this out.
Do you really think that me telling them to be like another woman is really that?
Man,
that's only gonna go bad.
Okay. Well, hypothetically, let's just assume that they'll listen to you, Ray. All right.
Okay. Well, it's very simple. Stop being as slutty as American women have generally been. Control the narrative. I mean, if women stop having sex with men and they did it like back in the old days, men would be more likely to marry them and earlier and have families. Then when you add on being more feminine, being kind, stop being so aggressive, we hate that. We like soft women that we look to protect and just follow our guidelines. And I mean, it's not that hard. Just follow the guidelines of traditional relationships. Follow the man, have an opinion, but he rules it at the end of the day. Just let him be a man. If you let a man be a man, he'll protect you until you die. He'll take out whoever. He'll slay the giant for you. If all you have to do is be vulnerable, be a woman, be what women are. Just be in your natural, and we will naturally protect you. That's just what it is. I would have stopped a long time ago doing what I'm doing. I mean, a long time ago. If I had those women, I don't know, man. It just seems like the simple things seems very hard to do. If I keep talking, I'm gonna say something negative. Let's move on.
Hey, but you did a great job. I want to applaud you,
and I agree
and being positive, and those were some good thoughts. Aaron, what say you, my brother?
So what are we closing out on? What I think American women should do, or
well, for Ray, we had to change it up because it's hard for him to end on a positive note. So yeah, so what we're looking for is not just American women, but also brothers in the U.S. Man, what can we do to get out of the funk that we're in?
I feel like number one, we had to start removing ourselves from this new social standard that we're in. And I really, really hate to bring religion into it, but one thing I can say about religion is that it stays the same. Like it doesn't change every couple of years. Like let's say in the 80s this was acceptable, then in 2020 this is acceptable, and in 20 more years it's gonna be acceptable. I feel like if we go to more traditional values, whether it's the traditional values of like the African culture, or traditional values and the Asian culture, or traditional values in Christianity or Islam, when we go back to more of these traditional values, it solve a lot of these problems. Because in most of these traditional cultures and religions, you don't have women being promiscuous. You don't have women, dressing half naked. You also have men being real men, working hard, taking care of their families, and I do believe in dick discipline, for sure, but it's like the men and the women got to work together. It's like, yo, why aren't women shaming the hoes that they're complaining about? She just said the hoes be winning. So, okay, cool. So when these women are posting half naked pictures, I want to see you in the comments, girl, put it away. Y'all don't do that. Y'all like them. Y'all, ooh, you go, girl. Yeah, I wouldn't dress like that, but I'm going to like your pictures and comment. You're promoting the behavior that you don't want to compete with. So I feel like we bring shaming back. All these, virtuous women, if you start shaming these hoes, right, then they won't have too much of a leg to stand on. But when you got Megan Thee Stallion and all these people getting cheered on by all the women, why should they stop twerking? Why should they stop, dressing half naked? And it goes the same thing to men. If men start focusing more on their purpose and stop chasing ass all the time, because I do feel like there's a lot of broke dudes that chase ass way too much. Now, if you're successful, you got your bag and stuff like that, that's a little bit different. But most men don't. And they prioritize, ass and chasing women over chasing their purpose. So I feel like it's on both sides of the fence that people need to improve on.
Right. Good thoughts. Mika.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because we're in such a world where it's just like Aaron was saying, when you shame these people, um, you're attacked. You know what I'm saying? So you're constantly in a place of being marginalized because of speaking out or saying something that's not going with the norm, right? So I would just encourage people to be able to stand out as separate, right? Just because the moral values of this country are debased doesn't mean your moral values have to be debased, right? Just because a majority are doing these things doesn't mean that you have to fall prey to this. And I think that, it's crazy because we can embrace the idea of being a minority and feeling like, oh, we done been through so much. We've been through so much hardship and we got so much to overcome. Why add 100 penises to the things that you have to overcome? Like, I just don't understand why this sexual liberation, this idea of dressing however, right? Because fact is women who have self-esteem don't need to have everything hanging out because they know you're going to holler at them regardless, right? They don't need to do all these extra. They don't need to overstimulate people to be attractive, right? And so I think it's, I don't know. We always go around and around when it comes to things like this because it's like nobody knows their roles anymore. The lines are so blurred. That's why people are confused, and that's why people aren't finding each other. It's because nobody is taking on traditional roles. Everybody wants to talk about this egalitarian stuff, while at the same time saying that they need a man to pay their bills, or they want a traditional woman, but they want a woman to pay 50% of the bills. It's like you got all these people giving all this rhetoric and all this misinformation, which leads people to consistently make stupid decisions and stupid choices, right? So I would say that as a person, because a lot of this crap is coming from people who are actually in relationships, I would say if you are able to sustain a relationship, tell people things that are going to help them sustain a relationship, not anecdotal things that you do in your relationship that you may be able to slide with, because it's not going to roll in majority of relationships. That's why so many people are not in relationships, right? Mm-hmm. So I would say just speak life out of your mouth. Speak what you know works based off facts, not what works for 2 people versus what works for 100 people. Like, us as Black people, we really have to stop like lifting up the anomaly. Mm-hmm. We literally are like, but look, this person got away with it, so maybe you could do it that way. It's like, speak life into people, speak success into people. And if men are saying they want a majority of things, how about you try to be in that? And if women are saying they want a majority of things, how about you try being that? Or at least try to meet in the middle? Because like, we are literally on our way to hell in a handbasket, and we're going to have a whole bunch of lonely people and confused children because of all these broken households that we are creating.
Right. Good thoughts. Maada, are you still with us? Let me see. If not, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Rico.
I like a lot of what people are saying. What the panel is saying. I do agree with Brother Ray. If women were presenting better options, I think dudes are kind of like we work hard when it comes to some things, but other things we just want it easy. So if it was easy for me, if I had a cooperative person at home, and my eyes would be definitely a lot less wide open than they are now, or than they have been. But I haven't been presented with a bunch of great options. I mean, I had some okay things, but I think if we're going to change things, I think the wifely women, or the women who want to be more wifely, would have to find a way to make themselves as noticeable as the women who are like the loose women, without showing themselves as loose women. Because we don't know, like, I don't think single men know this person is a wife to be, as opposed to she's already a wife. We know Lucy. We see Lucy. She got all the symptoms, she got the piercings in her cheek, and she got the lashes, and she got the neon colored hair, and we know Lucy. We know her when we see her. So, I don't think that men are just like choosing to pick Lucy as much as they know what to expect when it comes to Lucy, and they know, Lucy answering that phone. We definitely gotta we have to find a way to communicate those of us who want wives, and those of us who want husbands, not just to be married. Because some people just want to be married. Those of us who actually want a wife, those of us who actually want a husband, we got to find a way to, signal one another that that's where my mind is. And I don't know what that is, but it'd be nice if we did have that.
Right. Ma'at, close us out we're closing out on a positive note. Bring us home in terms of what we can do to improve the situation we're in. I mean, you have men who say that they don't want to get married, but I don't believe them. I think there are a number of men who want to get married, who want to think about their legacy, who want children to carry their name, their legacy forward. I believe that women want to be married. I don't think that women want to grow old by themselves. But there's this bluff, and it's almost like it's self-sabotage, where where we say things that end up becoming self-fulfilling prophecies. Give us some words on possible solutions of what we can do to get out of this rut.
Yeah, I mean, I'll kind of, go based off of a lot of things that we were talking about here, which we were talking about the over-sexualization. So that's a big issue within our community. And, we can go far back with where the over-sexualization comes from. But when I hear people are using their bodies in what I perceive as dumpsters, trash cans on both sides, right? We talk a lot about it for women because women have the womb. It's kind of like you have in a place where, something is inserted. And so I'm a proponent, I'm a holistic health guide. So I talk about holistic health a lot. And one of the biggest proponents for women is your womb and how much you need to protect your womb, how much your womb is sacred. And that doesn't just go for women. Men need to be taught that, because a lot of men are having little girls, but then on the other end, right, they're saying that it's okay to be promiscuous. It's okay to sexualize women. How does that work? How does that work for men to sexualize women, but then have little girls? It doesn't. Something has to add up there. So when I talk about womb health, where we have two girls and two boys, it's not just that I'm going to teach my girls to think of their womb as sacred. You have to teach the boys to think of that. And so that's where the value of women come in a relationship. So when you value your spouse, you also value the things that they need. So a lot of women will not actually come right out and say, I need to feel protected, not just from a physical level, but from a spiritual level, from a level of, I know that, I'm important to you, that you cherish me. It's so many levels to protect and value a woman just as a man. Just like I say, there's ways that women even protect their man. You don't go into certain spaces. You don't wear certain things. I agree with all of that. You don't wear certain things out in the public and then expect your man to protect you from those things. So we do have to, when we talk about morality, we have to understand what actually morality is. Morality is not just this religious, Bible-based thing. It's what is good for yourself, your family, your community, and how that continues. We talked about animals, right? At the beginning of the show, we talked about us being mammals. But what is one thing that animals do? Animals have an innate thing to continue themselves. They don't put themselves out of, they're not extincting themselves. But we have found it upon ourselves to say that we're going to extinct ourselves. How are we doing that? With this so-called gender war. When we say we don't need each other, when we don't value one another, we don't love one another. When we say, and it's not about marriage, right? I believe in the institution of marriage. But at the same time, there are many people who are together and have been together for years and years, right? And they don't have the title, but they know, in a sense, it looks like they're married, right? Mm-hmm. So the thing is, it's more about how are you going to protect that? Do you want to block yourself out? We have disconnected so much from this plane of existence, right? Disconnected from Earth, disconnected from the planet, disconnected from nature, that we are disconnected. When we disconnect from nature, we are disconnected from ourselves, and we are disconnected from ourselves. So from each other. So now we don't value one another, and that value is a reciprocal value. I'm going to see how much I value my brothers, and they should see how much they value me. There's power in both of us. There's beauty in both of us, and we can come together and we can do this thing together if we understand those things. We cannot continue to look at each other as just objects, as just things that we use, but things that we value and cherish. Anything that you have that you feel like is valuable, what do you do for it? What does it mean to you? How do you protect it? All of those things that we need to start actually thinking about and actually doing and actually creating that. Because what is important for you? If it's just important for you to exist right now in this timeline, right? Like, it's just, this is it for you. As long as I'm happy, then there's an issue within that, because community is important for us. The Black man and the Black woman is a very important aspect. And so we have to learn how to navigate that. And that goes back, and I'm going to close here. It goes back to those characteristics you bring to the relationship. And a lot of it just hasn't been taught, right? Mm-hmm. I feel like I had to teach myself how to be a wife, right? But that was the thing. We saw in each other, hey, we value one another. We're going to learn this thing. I came from a divorced home. He came from a divorced home. So how do we learn how to navigate this thing called marriage so that we don't end up in that situation where we get divorced? And we had to learn that, and we had to navigate it, and we had to grow together. And that's the most important part. You're either going to grow together within your relationship, or you're going to grow apart. And we talked about that kind of on the last show. So that's the thing that I would just say is about how do we learn? We have to learn how to value one another so that we both are protecting each other and actually creating a place for generations to also see that.
Right. Good words. I'm not gonna be too long. I want to say that it was a great discussion. We went longer than I anticipated. The conversation was very spirited. It was very enlightening as far as each individual's perspectives. But I will just echo some of your sentiments. I think that we as men and women, we're better together than we are apart. And I think for us to be able to move forward, some of us are going to have to put our ego and pride aside. We're going to have to go back to doing things the way we were in the past. I mean, this thing where we don't want to accept gender roles. Gender is real. Gender roles are real. I mean, men are stronger for a reason. And so because we're stronger, just like every other mammal in the animal kingdom, the males are responsible for protecting the females and the offspring. And that's our role. But part of us being able to protect you is also women submitting to our protection and our leadership. Men also submit to their wives' counsel. Most kings, throughout the history of the world, man, there was always a strong queen in his ear. And, whether it was like Napoleon and what's her name? Josephine. Some of these queens always had a lot of influence over the men. So, I mean, I'm not going to belabor the point. The point I'm trying to make is that we need each other and we are better together than we are apart. That is our time for now. For those of you who are still in the audience, be sure to click that like and subscribe button. And until next time, remember to keep an open mind, think for yourself, and stay lit. AK on fire.